Welcome to Bookwood. I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me. I would like to use our time today to give you a little update on the series I am reading. I already did that in February, so if you want to see which series are on my series tracker, you can always go watch that video. At that time, I had 20 different series on my tracker, and by the end of April, I had 28. This means that I have 8 series too much to reach my end goal of ending up with only 20 active series by December. But no worries, we are not there yet. I also can tell you that I have finished 6 series, which brings this down to 22 series on my list. In 6 others, I am up to date, which leaves us with only 16 active series on this list. And in 4 of them, unfortunately, I still have to buy the next book or books. So basically, I end up with 12 active series. Which series did I add on this tracker after January? That would be Divine Darkness by Anna Triss, The Wind. And I have already listened to 2 out of the 3 books. I hope to finish this series before my next wrap-up that will be coming your way in August. I have started Le Secret du Faucon by A.D. Martel, and I have read or listened to 2 out of 5 books, knowing that a 6th one recently came out. And there will be some more if I understood well. I started the Murder Bot series by Martha Wells, and I have listened to 2 out of 7 novellas. This is not a priority series, but I try to work on it so I can watch the show with my husband. I started the comics books series India Dreams by Maris and J.F. Charles. I have read 4 out of 10. I am still not sure if this is a series I want to continue, but I would like to try more of the comics in November for the challenge Lisez-vous du Belge? Do you read Belgium? The next one is Elements of Cadence by Rebecca Ross. This is a series of A River Enchanted. I have read 1 out of the 2 books in this one. I have also added Enquêteur Morales, or Detective Morales in English, by Roxanne Bouchard. I finished this one. We will talk about it later. I started the Miss Fisher series by Kerry Greenwood, and I've read 1 out of the 23 books. This will be a hard one to finish up since not all books are translated in French, and I will have to find out if they are all available to me. It is a cozy mystery that I will come back to once in a while when I feel the need for a book in that genre. The last one I added is The Bridge Kingdom by Daniela L. Jensen, and I have only listened to the first book out of 6, and I am afraid that I will be listening to the second book, which concludes the first of the 3 duologies, but I think I will not finish the rest of this series. I think, a little bit too old for this young adult series. The first series I want to talk to you about is a Deverry cycle by Katherine Kerr. This is a series that is now 16 books long and it should be ended, but that's not sure. I have read this in mainly a Dutch version, and I have read 6,638 pages for this series. All the books came out between 1986 and 2020. The first 15 books came all out before 2009, and that's when I read them. Being part of a post-order book club, I had one delivered to my door each month. Fun fact, I was reading these books being pregnant of my firstborn, Tilia, that you see sometimes, but mostly not because she tends to hold the camera, and right after she was born. This series gripped me so much that I have moved it along with me several times. And when I parted of other series that I loved because they were in Dutch and would certainly not be read anymore or not passed on to my children who all speak French, this one I did hold on to. Whilst Googling this series in 2023, just for fun, I discovered that there was a 16th book that came out in 2020. So I decided to reread the whole series before reading that one. There were 2 additional books announced, one for 2021 and one for 2022, but later on I found out that Katherine Kerr decided not to release these books. So I suppose we will stay with 16. I gave this series 5 stars, and I think that is a series that will never get any less. In this series that is quite complicated, we are following a group of main characters, that is Nevin, Jill, there is Rodri, and there is Colin. And we will follow their story from that point in time where it starts until several years later in the first 15 books. But every book, the story will have a flashback of something that happened up to 500 years before that. And all of these flashbacks explain the events in the current timeline. In this world, there is reincarnation, and at the very start, Nevin, called Galrion, made a mistake that made that the gods granted him immortality until he fixed it, because that was his vow. He would never rest before he had right his wrong. And he is in the present timeline of the book, has found again the reincarnations of all the persons that were involved in these events, and again he tried to make it right, because during all these flashbacks we will not only learn events that will have an influence on the current timeline, we will also see how these characters reincarnate, interact again, how other characters got entwined in this story, and how Nevin tries to correct his mistake, which is that the girl that once was Bronwyn and now is Jill has to come to the study of this magical art, Dwemer, that is their religion, and it is a little bit like druidry or the more pagan belief systems. In the first 4 books we will mostly concentrate on that, but of course with that the whole story is not finished. So in the second books we will follow Rodri going into another part of this world, and we will discover the elves that live there and that got entangled in this story as well. We will meet Dalandra, who will travel between the human or the normal world and some kind of spirit realm, and all that will implicate later on. This will go over into the Dragon Mage after a war has been fought against a spirit that declared herself a goddess, which is Ashandra. She will be the bad guy for a long while in these books. And with this battle, Jill dies. So Nevin dies when he has accomplished his task, which is around at book 4. In the next series, we will be following the incarnations of some of our first characters again, and we will discover some other parts of the land, whilst following also a little bit the tale of the dragons, because our main character Rodri, who had this excessive long life since he was half human, half elf, is now a dragon. It is a fantasy, right? And we will start to learn more about other people or other folks roaming this planet or this continent, like the horse skin, and then the people of the north, and then there is also dwarves and a buffer people that are living between, like the Deverry people and the other ones. And we will walk around, see how Ashandra got her power, and how she and a reincarnation of a priestess that believes very strongly in her, will continue of causing uproar and trouble in the name of Ashandra. And this will accumulate in, again, at the end of the Silver Worm Circle, in a big war, but a big war in which all wrongs of this world are set right. Because through these 2 cycles, we will learn how the people that we know now as the Deverian people came to this, and all that was set in motion because of that. This sounds very, very complicated, and it is difficult to explain, but once you read it, it just flows. And that's part of what attracts me so much to these books, is that it has so many levels, and it's so complex, and it holds so many worlds and people and traditions. But still, when you read it, it is just like, oh yes, that makes sense. The 16th book is set 500 years later, and I read it in English. And though I already really much loved the writing style translated into Dutch, when I read it in English, I just had like, now I'm gonna reread it all in English, because it is even written better like this. And in this book, we will see how the world has evolved after the big events of the 15th one. And we will see how schools have been set up, and how bards are being formed, and how Deomer has become like a souvenir of the past. And we will follow 2 ladies in their quests to not only make a good marriage, because the romance is a little bit more to the foreground also in this one, but how they want to make sure that the justice system gets more balanced out, since now it is always in favor of the ruling class, and they want to change that. And for that, they are traveling to Hanmarn, which is a magical island that we meet during the 15 Others, but we will learn so much more about this island in this book, which is a nice conclusion to this series. This book also ends with a first victory in this justice war. So I suppose that it has more things to come, but since the book will never be released, well, we will never know. It is a series that almost nobody talks about it, maybe just because it is older. And I hope that my enthusiasm about this series makes you want to discover it too. The second series I finished is the Ruinous Love trilogy by Brynne Weaver. This is a dark romance adult series with romances between killers and it is written in a way that it has a lot of humor in it. I listened to these books, so they came to me through Audible Studios. I listened for 32 hours and a half, and these books all came out between 2023 and 2024. I gave this series 4 books. For those who don't know the name of the series, maybe the titles of the books say more to you. It is Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, and Sight and Sparrow. And in each of these 3 books, the male lead is a brother out of these 3 brothers, and they all have a quite dark secret to hide. One is a serial killer, the other is a hitman, the third one is a doctor who just tries to forget his past. And we will follow their relationship with, at first sight, quite innocent girls, but they all have also a quite dark secret to hide. One is also a serial killer, the other helps women to get rid of abusive husbands, and another one is deep down in a family business that goes quite wrong, and she kills someone, and this is how she will meet Leather. Each of these romances is well written, it's very funny, and I enjoyed listening to all of them. I preferred Butcher and Blackbird the most. I think the banter and the story around it was the best one. I will not go into every book of them. There is enough reviews, I think. But hey, I also read them and I also liked them. Series I wanted to talk to you about is the Stolen Heir duology by Holly Black. I have read those physically in French, and that was worth 1024 pages. The original books came out in 2023 and 2024. It's a young adult romantasy. I gave them 4 stars. I can say that this is a series that I really longed to finish, since I read the first book, The Stolen Heir, in 2023. But the French edition of The Prisoner's Throne only came out at the very end of 2024, so the time that we got it was 2025. This is a duology in the world of the Folk of the Air series in Elfheim, and I suggest you read that trilogy before reading this duology. You could read it without having read the main trilogy, but I think that a lot of the subtle things will not be clear to you, and that some events or some memories will come out of the blue. That will not happen if you read the trilogy first. This duology is set 8 years after the end of the Folk of the Air, and we will follow Oak, who is on his way for doing a mysterious quest we don't really know much about. But for this quest he also needs Suren or Ren to come with him. And in the first book we will see how Oak goes back to the human world, where Suren lives hidden in a forest helping out humans. And he will arrive just in time to save her from an attack of the Storm Hag. He will make her or convince her to come with him all the way back to Elfheim, all the way back to the lands that she grew up in, to fulfill his quest. And we will follow them along in this on this road, on these travels. and see how they both are in inner conflict. Of how he can go through with his plans without hurting her, and how he can prove to her that he loves her, and she battling her feelings because she remembers the kids they were and how close they were, and she sees the charming man he has become, but he is also very manipulative and she can sense it. We will go all the way back to these bad memories of her that she will have to face, but at the very end Oak will betray her and she will make him her prisoner. The second book will pick up just after these events, and we will see how Oak sets himself free from this imprisonment, mainly by convincing her that he loves her and by getting her so far as to get married. She accepts because the armies of Jude and Kyra are in front of her gates, and she would like to avoid this open war just as much as he does. So for this marriage ceremony they travel all the way back to Elfheim, to the headquarters of Kyra and Jude, and all this way something is off, and Oak will try to find out what it is, but he will notice only when it is right in front of him, and at that point he will have to make the best out of this situation and try to save the one he loves, of the one who he loves, because it is more people, and to make things right. I will not tell you much more about this because that will be spoiling way too much. I did already spoil enough, but I really liked this series. I think it doesn't have the sweet, everything goes well in the end sauce that most of young adults books have. It is very morally gray. The characters are very complex and very interesting to follow, and I really enjoyed reading these books. The fifth series I want to talk to you about is Kyra Stormrider by Jupiter Phaeton. This is a series of 7 books that has never been translated to English. They came to me through Audible once again, and I listened for 71.5 hours to this series. All the books were originally published between 2023 and 2024. It's a heroic young adult fantasy series, and I gave it 3 stars. It was worth the read, it was nice listening to, but it was not exceptional to me. But that's maybe because I am not a young adult anymore. It was nice to listen to while doing chores or having the kids around, because missing a chapter didn't make much of a problem. But it is not a series that I would recommend to any adults. It is not complicated enough to be attractive for experienced fantasy readers. The last series I want to talk to you about is the Detective Morales or Enquêteur Morales series by Roxanne Bouchard. This is a series of mystery books, and there are 3 of them, and it's for adults. They came to me through Campus Media, and I listened for 26.5 hours to these books that came out between 2014 and 2021. I gave them 4 stars. This Quebecian author has written this series with as a background Gaspésie. We will follow Inspector Joaquin Morales when he leaves Montreal for a pre-retirement in Gaspésie, which is a almost isle, I would say, a peninsula in Quebec that is very beautiful and driven of the fisherman's activity. In the first book, we will follow him as he arrives and settles in, and when he starts his first case of the island or of the peninsula, when a local lady is found dead in a fisherman's net. I will not tell you too much about the investigations, except that they are quite calm to listen to. These are more like old school reflection investigations than the high action ones that you can see in thrillers, for example. Gaspésie is depicted in a very poetic way, and you almost feel you're there. We are in all of the books like in later in the year, and so the high tourist season is gone, and it has this very calmness of living with the rhythms of nature. In the second book, we will follow the same inspector on another case, and we'll see him struggle with the fact that his wife, who was supposed to come live with him, never arrives, and he finds out that their marriage is probably over. He is also joined by his son, who has a lot of doubts about his marriage, and basically they will have a lot of talk about what it means to be a man, a husband, the image a father gives to his son, and we will learn a lot about Joachim's background story. These 2 books were written quite a few years apart, since the second one came out in 2020, but the third one followed quickly after. And maybe that's a good thing, since we will be meeting the same side character of the second book, which is La Mariée du Corail. We meet Simone, and Simone will become a second protagonist in the third book, in which Inspector Morales has completely divorced from his wife, and he goes off on an organized trip by the police force, and he will be asked to look into a drug trafficking case, since he used to be an underground agent in this type of investigations. And simultaneously, we will follow Simone, who embarks on a ship that goes for a seal hunt, on which she is not wanted. She will slowly uncover a lot of things that she maybe should not have, and this will end up with a murder and her getting seriously injured on this boat. When both stories finally meet each other, unfortunately it is too late, and the woman that Inspector Morales started to fall in love with turns out to have deceased on this boat. I found this a very sad ending, and since there have been no other books, I suppose that this series is finished, but you never know. And I stay wondering how he gets over this loss. But then on the other hand, it is poetic in the setting. It's quite difficult to explain. All 3 books keep this atmosphere that I enjoy very much. And I think that what makes part of the magic for them, for me, is the Quebecian French in the audiobook. If you like this type of calm mysteries, I suggest you take a look at this series. I gave this series 4 stars. to add a series during our work, so let's enjoy a nice cold tea while talking about the very last series, La Guilde des Ombres by Anna Triss. And it is a series of 3 books divided into 2, so basically 6 books. For the moment it's not translated to English yet, but it will be soon if I am well informed. It is for 152 hours and a half. All books came out between 2021 and 2023. I gave the overall series 4 stars. In this series, we are following a young girl, Panama. She is only 6, but everything is set in motion with the death of her parents. That was quite violent. She has this power that she doesn't know about, and she finds out one day by accident, and her power is that she can kill by touch, and she has accidentally killed all the chickens in the coop. So her father, who already beat her mom, that day beats her mom up to death, and she will revenge her mom without really knowing what she's doing by touching her death and killing him, which set off that her family, that her uncle, where she goes to live, ships her off to the mainland because they live on an island, where she is placed in an orphanage, and in this orphanage she is adopted by 2 men who come from the Guild of Assassins. They have somehow discovered of her gift, and they decide to offer her this place to stay and this job to learn because of this gift. And in the first part of the first book, we will follow the whole training that she goes through and how she goes on with that. It's a time span of 10 years that goes by. And in the second half of this book, we see her now as an adult going on missions. And we will also see how her relationship with her mentor evolves into a romantic one and a very toxic one. At the end of this book, she goes on a mission that of which she is informed by letter, and once she comes back, she will learn that she was set up and that this mission was not authorized, and that she killed someone that she shouldn't have, but this guy deserved it, really, he did. And this will set off a whole war purge-like situation, and she is banned out of these guilds, and she has to go somewhere, but somewhere else. In the second book, we are following how she travels around, how she lives as a mercenary, but also how she discovered that she is pregnant at 17 with a child that she cannot care for. So she goes to have her baby with a lady of which she once saved the life, and we will help her. And she asks her, and she's visited by the head of this Assassin's Guild, and she asks him to take this baby to his banished son. So this might sound strange, but during all her training time, we will discover that the head of this guild is something special. He's a dragon, basically, and he has some special powers, and one of them is erasing memories, which he does a lot with her whilst she's training into more dragonish skills. So he takes her basically to Sonjgar and Brynne, which are spirits realms in which most people do not have access, and he teaches her a lot of history and knowledge that will come in handy later. So he has foreseen it all, so he does this, but he erases her memory, and it will come back bit by bit, starting all midway
in this second book. So he takes off with her daughter and he brings his son, and who will take care of her, and she's called Hope, until that her mother is ready to take care of her. In the second part of this book, due to some events, Panama goes looking for the man who's keeping her daughter. His name is Brazier, or Paladin, because he has a dragon, an assassin's name and a normal name. And she will slowly recover her memories of her birth, her giving birth to Panama. And they will slowly start to form a family. But she will also discover what her ex is up to, and he basically wants to have a war on all the continents and then dominate it in a very bad way. And so she sets out to find relics that will help her to win this war, and also to prevent him to get them. And we will follow the whole way of doing that that's in the fourth book. In the next two, we will see how they get the alliance of the elves, of the dwarves in this war, and how it is fought out, and it will end by a duel between Panama and her ex-boyfriend. His name is Camar, and she will realize that she will have to give herself up to manage to balance it all out so that the world can be in balance and in peace. How this all ends, I will still leave to not to be spoiled, since I have already spoiled a whole lot of this series to you. I enjoyed reading this series. I think that at some points things are too long. Anna Triss tries to really give a good idea of everything that moves the characters to do what they do. And most of these loose threads are only combined in the really last book, so in the sixth one or in the second half of the third one. And at that point you say, oh yes, this is really well done. And what is really nice also is that all characters that are involved, that we are following or that are of some importance, will have a role to play in the final events of this book. It's not like one person that will save it all. No, it is really everybody together and everybody in his place that guarantee the way the events go.
See you soon!